What is the best console to collect for in 2019? I'm going to tell you which console I think you should be collecting for, some of the great games that are available for it, and if you stick with me to the end, I've got a great tip for some of you UK collectors out there. So kick off your shoes and relax your socks. Now, game collecting is an absolutely fantastic hobby, but the cost of it over the past 10 years has absolutely skyrocketed. Now, when I started collecting a couple of years ago, I was after games for the N64, the Mega Drive and the SNES, but they were just so expensive I just couldn't get the amount of games that I wanted to buy. Now, for anyone that was starting off like I was a couple of years ago, it's really difficult to build a big collection of amazing games when they're just so expensive. Now, I was in my local game store looking for like a really cool N64 or Mega Drive game to pick up, and I'd only really picked up a couple at the time, so I was looking for something pretty decent, and I had about 10, 15, maybe £20 that I was willing to spend. And anyway, while I was looking around, I caught in the corner of my eye some of my absolute all-time favourite games. I'm talking games that I used to play non-stop with my mates, solo, you name it, some of the best gaming memories I've ever had. So anyway, I went over to the aisle there and I started looking through these games. And then all of a sudden I noticed the price. And I was looking at like 50 pence, £1, £2 here and there. Now, over in the US, that's probably the equivalent of like a couple of bucks here and there. So anyway, I started picking out some of these games and it was like going through a gold mine of like amazing games. I was finding like some of the best gaming memories I ever had and games that I just didn't have anymore. So I was picking them up and adding them to the collection, building up a bit of a stack. And before I knew it, I had like 15 or 20 games. So I went over to the desk and when they told it all up, it was 15, 20 pounds at most. Now, all those games, like we're talking 15, 20 games for the same price as it was going to cost me to buy one N64 cartridge. And that was for the PlayStation 2. I think the PlayStation 2 is the best console to be collecting for right now. And there's a couple of reasons behind that. Now, first of all, I think there's just not a lot of people that see the PlayStation 2 or consoles of that generation as specifically retro. Now, it's a couple of generations old. And in my eyes, I guess I was thinking the same thing when I first started collecting. I was thinking more Mega Drive and SNES and NES and those types of consoles, maybe your N64 as well. I didn't really think of the PlayStation 2 as retro. However, we're talking a console now whereby there's plenty of kids playing games who have never owned or even probably played on a PS2. So by those standards, it definitely hits that retro mark. And I think it's sitting at that sweet spot of 2 generations behind. And I think we could be saying the same thing for consoles like the PS3 and the Xbox 360 in a few years' time. But what you're finding is a console that is slowly transitioning into that clear retro category, and therefore the games aren't yet commanding those ridiculously high prices that some of your older consoles like your N64s might be looking at. Now we go on to the next reason why the games for the PS2 are so cheap, and it also happens to be the same reason why the games are so amazing to collect as well. And that is the PlayStation 2 is one of, if not the best selling console ever made. And along with that, it means there was an absolute bucket load of amazing games made for the PS2. So when you're talking about such vast quantities, that's another reason why the games are so cheap, because they're quite easy to find. However, you're also talking some of the greatest AAA games ever created. Some of the best gaming experiences you can find in any generation of consoles. So what I've done is I've separated into 3 sections. I've got some really cheap games, some mid-price games, and then some of your really expensive games. And that's just to give you a taste of what's available on the PS2 and to show that you can go from anywhere from a collector that wants to build a vast quantity of really good quality titles all the way up to the collectors that are maybe looking for that really rare sought after game. So to start with, some of the cheapest selections that we've got, and I've just gone a bit random here. I've not really taken a lot of time to whittle it down, but that just shows how easy it was to get some amazing games. And the first ones I've got are the first 3 Onimusha games. Every single one of these cost me no more than maybe 50 pence to £1. Really cheap and absolutely amazing quality games. We're talking games that were made by Capcom back when they were making some of the best Resident Evil games. And they just ooze quality. Great games. Also, you can get your hands on something like, we call it Canis Canem Edit over here in the UK, also known as Bully in the US. Yet we had some censorship issues. But another fantastic game. I think this one cost me like £2. Absolute pennies. And then we've got one of the best racing franchises ever made. We've got Burnout 2 and 3 here, and you can pick up Burnout 1 as well. All for absolute pennies. Again, 50 pence to £1. These games created hours upon hours of amazing memories with my mates. Some of the best racing games you can have. And then we've got, and they've still got the stickers on, we've got Red Faction, another fantastic first-person shooter, this one. I remember the geomod technology in this just blew me away. The fact that you could just blow up walls. I think I mentioned in one of my other videos about how me and my mates actually did this thing where on either side of the map we both started shooting into the ground, and then we tried to end up meeting in the middle and create a tunnel, and we actually did it. And to be able to do that in a game at the time was just phenomenal. But anyway, yeah, amazing game, great gaming experience, 50 pence. Rogue Ops, not breaking any like charts here, but Rogue Ops, a good stealth game, 50 pence, I mean you can't go wrong. And then Extreme G3 Racing, another absolute classic. If you like your Wipeout games, fast paced, I mean you're breaking the sound barrier in this game, and it's just absolutely great fun. Again, I think this one was like £1, £1.50. So you can see like amazing quality games. Like I said, just pick these at random. Some of the best games of the generation, and just great games to this day. So the next set of games that I'm talking about are more that mid-level of price range. And now I know I'm talking UK prices here, but this still applies to the US, where we're talking your lowest retro game prices, or that mid-level, or the highest amount you'd be paying for like retro games. This selection of games, there's only a few I've got in this one right now that I picked out, but these are games that maybe didn't sell that well at the time, but after time's gone by, people have realized or appreciated what great games they are, and so maybe you're starting to command a slightly higher price. And the first one is Simpsons Hit and Run. And again, I say slightly higher price, we're talking around about £5 to £10. So that's in your low to mid-range price point. Now, I remember seeing on Reddit, I think it was a meme where somebody had said something along the lines of the only game that ever needs a remake. And I can see where they're coming from. This was a fantastic game at the time, and I think maybe with the Simpsons branding on it, maybe that's why it didn't sell so well. But people have really started to appreciate and respect this game, and yeah, great game to have in your collection. And like I said, in your low to mid-range price point, you can't really go wrong. Now the next two, I mean, Kingdom Hearts 3's just come out, and you can go out and you can get Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. Each one of these, we're probably talking about £7 each, if you're going for the original covers anyway. And again, like if you're into Kingdom Hearts, if you want to get in on the story, or if you just want to get a cheap fix before you get into Kingdom Hearts 3, you can get these two games for like £7 each. I mean, these prices, that is brilliant when it comes to trying to build a big gaming collection. Now, when we're talking the more expensive items, I've got two right here, and we're talking about Yakuza 1 and 2. Now, these games still aren't breaking the bank. We're talking Yakuza 1 going for about full retail price, and Yakuza 2 is probably in at the halfway point. Now, these games completely flew under the radar when the PlayStation 2 was out, and I think it was part of the fact there were so many GTA clones coming out. People probably just thought these were another one of those. But they're great games, and I think as the franchise has gone on, people have really started to appreciate them, and therefore they're actually one of the harder games to find, and because of that, they are a little bit more pricey. But like I said, they're still not in that ridiculous £100, £200, £300 range that you see some of the SNES games and some of the older games going for. So as you can see, the PlayStation 2 has an amazing catalogue of games, and honestly, I just literally in 5 minutes grabbed a couple of games, and I couldn't go wrong. I managed, when I started collecting, to build from literally a handful of games into a collection that is starting to feel like you could call a proper collection within the space of weeks. And that's because I was able to just pick up so many amazing PS2 games so cheap. So I really do think that this is the time to be collecting for the PlayStation 2. And if you miss it, you might see these games flying up in price. Now, I did say at the beginning that I had a secret for some of you UK collectors out there, and that is two games that seem to be really sought after in the US, but over here in the UK, no one seems to be bothered about them. And I don't think they're suffering from the whole case of maybe we had a higher print run, so therefore that's why it's easier to find in the UK. One of the games in particular, I don't think sold well at all over here. I'd never even heard of it. Now the first game is Futurama. Now this game, I remember it coming out, but I think people just didn't buy it because they just thought it was a bit of a cash-in. But it turned out to be a great game. And the guys in the US have figured this one out. It's going for about $40 to $50 right now. Whereas over here, I got it for £10. So I think it's a great time to buy this game before people start realizing and jumping onto the bandwagon and this price starts to raise like it does in the US. So yeah, I really reckon Futurama is a great game to have in any PlayStation 2 collection. And the next one is Haunting Ground. And as you can see, this one, I've still got it in the wrapper. So again, this is a game, this is like a survival horror game. I think it follows on from the Clock Tower series. Haunting Ground by Capcom. I'd never even heard of it until I watched a few YouTube channels. And again, in the US, this is quite a rare game. And I think again, it's going for around about maybe $50, $60. I got a complete in-box sealed brand new version for £10. Now this game I know for a fact did not sell well in the UK. And maybe people aren't that bothered about games like this or weren't that interested in the Clock Tower series over here. But again, with the impact of YouTube videos, and we can see prices of games that we weren't even that keen on over here in the UK rising pretty crazily, I bet you this game is going to rise in price really fast. So I recommend you get this for your collection, absolutely. So there we have it guys, PlayStation 2 has to be the best console to be collecting for in 2019. And as you can see, it's got some amazing games for it. I'm sure if you've ever played it, you just know the amazing library that it's got. And the price range is absolutely fantastic right now. It goes really low, and even the most expensive games that I could come across were no more than their original asking price. So what do you think? Do you think the PlayStation 2 is a great console to collect for right now? Or if not, which one do you think is even better? And UK collectors, what do you think about these two games? I'm telling you, these are ones to get. You let me know what you think, and let me know if there's any other ones that you can think of as well. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. And if you like this video and you're interested in more retro game tips and retro game pickups, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. And also, if you really want to get involved in the community, you can head on over to the Discord where we chat about gaming news and retro games, and also we dabble a little bit in the development of Gym Empire, the Tycoon game currently in development right now. So once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.